Yeah. What you know about bench mob? They're speaking the facts that you wanna hear. They rep a jersey, the vision is clear. Diamonds glisten like a chandelier. You know what I'm here for, like Marshawn Lynch. At clutch time, we do not flinch. Real brothers, we do not switch. Hit home runs with the right pitch. Who run the city? What to do when they hating on you? I feel like Kobe 2010. Taking an L, all I need is a win. Business is business, you know how they go. They clearing the seats, now it's time to grow. Tune in now, gotta be in the know. Showtime, bitch, my about to blow. You know.
Welcome back to another episode of the Bench Mob Podcast. Oh yeah, y'all just missed it. Chris was showing us his blanket he got ready for bed after the show when it's done. We're gonna be real ready. Shout out to all of our listeners, our followers, our subscribers. We appreciate y'all. We are back for another episode, another installment. It's only three of us tonight. One is out for COVID protocol, contact tracing. He has to be out for about 10 days, it's looking like. So he won't be able to make it tonight. Myles, do it for the ladies. Davenport is out on injured reserve, but I'm joined by two of the big four. CJ in the building. How you doing tonight?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Feel like it's a little past my bedtime. We taping this a little late tonight because, Greg thinks the show revolves around him and he can just come on whenever he wants to. But, we'll deal with that another time. But we're managing. We're talking sports, so it'll definitely be interesting.
Greg, G, baby, debate with your mother. How you doing?
I'm good, bro. You see Chris is over here throwing shots.
My man has no respect for anybody else's time, but it's cool. It's cool.
I take a shower, but these curls don't happen by mistake, man. This
you had all night to take
Chris,
a shower.
What I told you, so before we hopped on, he's like, yo, where Greg at? What he doing? I said, he probably taking a shower on everything.
There's something about Greg. He only likes to wash himself after 9:30.
I had to get some eats, bro, for the crib, and I had to take a shower. So now I'm ready though. I'm ready, man. Got a good show ahead. We got a good show ahead of us.
We're gonna get straight into it. I guess we can start off with some basketball talk right here. Coach Thibodeau has the Knicks as a 4th seed. Of course, just like a Knicks fan, we're talking about the Knicks, and the Knicks fan on the show does not show up today for certain reasons and whatnot. He might be celebrating because we saw the video. The New York and Manhattan was throwing a Super Bowl party because the Knicks are one game over 500. 4th seed in the East right now. Is Tibbs Coach of the Year? Do you think he's going to be able to get it with how the Knicks are doing, which is the best record they've had, the best start since 2012, 2013 Knicks squad, where it was Melo and the retirees?
Yeah, I think like if you look at it like that, right, this is the first time in a long time that we're talking about the Knicks over 500 this far into the season. They've won 18 out of their first 35 games so far. And one thing to note about these Knicks is, man, the team is bought in. They're on their way to making the playoffs. He's on his way to becoming, Coach of the Year. That type of title doesn't just mean like, hey, you win a championship, you're Coach of the Year, right? It's about other things. He's turning that franchise around. This team is playing for each other. They pride themselves on defense, and the way that their effort comes into play, every night and whatnot. They're getting block shots. They're a paint heavy team. Nerlens Noel, you saw him the other night, 3 blocks, and their effort's different, and you can tell the energy is different. They're having fun out there. Julius Randle smiling game after game. Like, you can tell them boys care about each other and that they're balling, and they want to prove and change the culture in New York. So that's such a dominant market, obviously the number one market in basketball, and they want to turn their season around, and you can tell they're playing for Coach Tibbs.
Greg, Brooklyn, they doing their thing as we expected. Knicks are doing well also, which wasn't expected. Takeaways on this Knicks season. Do we need to pump the brakes on this?
On the Tibbs, I'll start by saying this. Tibbs deserves Coach of the Year. Like, I mean, if you just did it a quarter of the way through the year, right, which is or about halfway, I think we are now. Yeah, he deserves Coach of the Year. But there's already been a precedent set for this. He's not going to win. He's not going to win it. I've seen this movie happen before. Kenny Atkinson deserved Coach of the Year. What year was this? Was this 2014, 2015 with D'Angelo, Spencer Dinwiddie, and those guys playing well? They were 41-41. They snuck in the playoffs with a team that had no business being there, and he didn't win it. Right? This happens. There's a formula. Like I always tell people, blame the writers. Like it's no different than the MVP conversation. They have the same formula they use for coaches. Coaching the best team in the NBA, best record, you're typically going to win Coach of the Year. So Mike Budenholzer won the last couple of years of the Bucks, so they had the best record. This year is going to go to Quinn Snyder with Utah. That's what's going to happen. It's guaranteed. So he won't win it. I think he deserves it. I mean, obviously you want to see where they finish the year. I'll be honest with you. I don't think the Knicks are going to finish top 4 in the East at all. I think Miami took the first 2 months of the season off because they had to deal with the shortest offseason in NBA history, and now they got Jimmy Butler out there balling, playing great, and so they're going to make a surge. They're going to shoot their way back up into the top 3, top 4 seeds in the East. The Celtics are going to make it a run at this thing too and play better basketball down the stretch too, right? They're not that bad of a team, right? So they're going to come back and play well too. But the Knicks are going to make the playoffs, which is a huge accomplishment. And he should definitely. I think he deserves it. I think he deserves Coach of the Year. He just won't win it because that's the way this thing goes. It's just sad.
Yeah, concerning you mentioned Atkinson not getting it. I think if he is going to still even be considered for it, they have to make the playoffs. They can't end up being out of it, 9th seed. It's only been one coach to ever win Coach of the Year and not make the playoffs, which was Doc Rivers, and they had a 41-41 record. I think he needs to make the playoffs to keep him in the conversation. And if he really wants to be a threat in that conversation, he has to be in that top 4 seed. I don't think they're going to stay top 4 seed, but they're going to have to be if he has a shooter's chance of getting that Coach of the Year over a Quinn Snyder, who I don't think deserves it, but
he'll win it.
He'll win it. But like you said, for me, when it comes to Quinn Snyder, the Jazz, they're the number 1 seed, but they've been good over the last 4 or 5 years. This isn't too crazy for them to be a number 1 seed right now in a awkward season. So many different players being out and the COVID protocols. But you see, like, they even losing tonight against the Pelicans, so they might not, finish with that number 1 seed. They might hit a wall and might not be able to.
There's a chance that happens. Yeah, there's a chance that happens. I mean, they have the best record in the league right now. He's got a nice cushion. The league is weird this year. All these teams are really close. Everything's jam-packed. If you look at it from the top seeds perspective on each side, the Western Conference and the Eastern Conference, all these races are close. All these races are close. Everyone's tight. The Clippers, the Lakers, and Utah are all real tight. And then obviously you've got the Nets and Sixers right there too. So it's tight and it could go any way, which is good for Tibbs. That helps him in this case. But I think you're right. If you don't finish, at least in my opinion, top 5 in the Eastern Conference this year with how shaky things have been, I don't know that he wins. I don't know that he wins Coach of the Year. And also, if we're going to play this game, and the coach from the Hornets, James Borrego, has done a really good job with that team too. They're winning games. They remind me of the Nets team more than this Knicks team does. They really do. Like the young core of guards. Obviously, you've got LaMelo. We know what he is, but Malik Monk playing much better basketball than he has throughout his career. PJ Washington, who I've always liked. I've always loved this game. Doing what he does, having a 40 clip last night on the road against the Kings. And I know the Kings will play any defense. They're allergic to it, but still. It's to win those kind of games. Those are culture changing kind of wins on the road. wins that teams in the East just don't get. They don't get them. So, or at least the bad teams don't. So on those West Coast road swings. So it's impressive, and he deserves consideration too. If we're gonna talk about Tibbs, gotta talk about him too, because he's got him in the playoffs. And who knows, maybe they beat the Blazers tonight. Like, for real, like, that team doesn't know any better. They're young to go out there and play hard. And so I feel like it's very similar to the Knicks too.
LaMelo Ball, Rookie of the Year.
It's a lot.
We've had this discussion. Arguably he's top 10 point guard right now. And you mentioned Malik Monk. He already said his game has improved because of LaMelo.
It's true.
PJ Washington, LaMelo, like, he's playing a huge factor in their success along with Gordon Hayward. But you mentioned the Clippers. They lose. They lost to the Bucks. They had a lead set up 7 points with 4 minutes left. Their two main stars seem to have disappeared at the end of that game. Giannis had a huge game, and the Bucks are on a 5-game winning streak now. Have the Bucks figured it out? Are they back into their groove? And is this just the Clippers being the Clippers?
I think for the Bucks, man, I think we need to see more for them before we can say, hey, have they figured it out? But in terms of last night, that's the Giannis that we all love and that we all want to see night after night. But his inconsistency to give us that performance night after night, being as big as he is and as dominant as he should be, we just haven't seen that from him consistently enough. But I think the problem last night, and I watched the game, Greg, earlier today. I went into the office, and I worked in the office, so I pulled up the game, and I was just sitting in the office watching it. And what stood out to me was just Paul George and Kawhi not being able to hit those big time shots when it mattered. And we talked about it consistently with Paul George last year being in the bubble, and what NBA players think of him now. And for Paul George, man, like, this is your year to shine. This is your year to change the narrative of what other players think of you, and what you can do in the postseason and what you can do even in the regular season when you play these tough games and you need to come away with the win. Like, between him and Kawhi last night, they were 0 for 6 in clutch time shots against when guarded by Chris Middleton and Giannis. 0 for 6. You saw the miss by Kawhi at the end of the game, but Paul George has some misses too. And I think in those big type of games, like, he's not doing enough. 16 points isn't going to cut it when Giannis is killing out there by himself. 36 points, had a huge fourth quarter. And the one thing I love about Giannis's game is, like, sometimes I think when he plays, he really doesn't realize how big he is until he gets a basket and he's like, oh, okay, it was that easy. Let me go down and do it again. And that's where you see that domino effect and that consistent effort. He was playing hard all game. He was playing defense. He had the block shot against Zubac, towards the end and whatnot. But, Giannis is big. He can be at the free throw line, right, and have that drop back step, and he's already at the rim. Like, get out of his way. Like, you saw the post up on Pat Bev. Like, he's realizing how big he is and how dominant he can be. And you saw him having fun last night too. And I think this is how you get that narrative to change for your season. They started off February with going over. No, they started off February winning the first 5 games in February, and then they went on an 0-5 losing streak up until last night. But you saw the energy change. You saw the shift. You saw just the hard work collectively among the team, and ultimately Giannis, like, realizing, hey, I'm still a killer in this league, and, like, if he brings that consistently and finds that drive within him to take over games like he did last night, there's no reason why the Bucks shouldn't be able to turn it around.
Giannis, 36, 14 boards, 5 assists, 1 steal, 4 blocks. And
man was balling.
2 for 7 from 3. He knocked down 2 3-pointers. He was taking the 3-pointers.
Yep.
Looking at Paul George, 7 for 21, 2 for 10 from 3. 7 rebounds, 7 assists, plus minus of a -2. Kawhi, not that much better, 10 for 21, 2 for 6, 5 rebounds, 9 rebounds, 3 assists. Greg.
G baby.
I'm not gonna hold on. I'll tackle the Giannis thing later. the Clippers' issues were on full display yesterday. That's what it is. Okay, they are not a good defensive team. They don't play great defensively. They have holes defensively. They have Nick Batum on the court way too much, and other teams can exploit that, and they go after him every single time. And they don't have
30
point guard.
minutes.
30 minutes
He-
Nick Batum in a big primetime game. That's going to kill them in the playoffs. Kill them in the playoffs. They're going to lose a series they shouldn't lose again because of that, just because of that alone, right? And then you factor in the fact that I have my criticisms of Kawhi Leonard, but I'll leave Kawhi out of this for a second. Paul George is exactly what I said. We had a podcast earlier this year. We did one of my first ones where I talked about my problem with Paul George. My problem with Paul George, for all the people who may be new to this, is that he doesn't get enough shots near the basket. He doesn't get enough shots near the basket. He doesn't get enough easy looks. Everything is hard. Everything's a step back. Everything's a turnaround fade. Everything's a off the dribble jump shot. Those aren't high percentage shots. I mean, for him, yes, as good as he is, most nights he's gonna look really good frying your favorite player. Paul George is talented. No one's questioning that. But because he doesn't get easy looks at the basket, it makes his life really difficult. And in turn, it makes his team's life really difficult because when you need a basket down the stretch and teams are really honing in on you, and let's say you're having a bad shooting night the way you did last night, what do? You're not getting you're not even drawing fouls. You're not even drawing fouls. You said, what was it? 1 for 10 from 3 or 2 for 10?
2 for 10 from 3 and 0 free throw attempts last night.
0. Do you see what I'm saying? I'm not making this up, folks. Like you've seen this for a long time with him. He doesn't get to the basket. And I think it's a mental thing with him because of the injury. And I'm giving him a way out here. I'm giving him a way out here because we know what people on the league think about him. You could read lips. You know what they call him in the league right now. All right. And he's playing like that. He's really playing like that right now because he doesn't go to the basket. He doesn't go to the basket strong. He doesn't get easy looks. He doesn't draw fouls. Every other star in the NBA, just think about it. There's no other superstar in the NBA who does this. Guys, even the best shooters in the NBA, even Steph Curry draws fouls. He gets to the free throw line. He gets to the basket. He has an assortment of floaters he can get to. CP3 has it. James Harden has it. Russell Westbrook, right? You can name them. You can name guys who have dominated the NBA over the last 10 to 15. In fact, throughout the entire history of the league, who get to the basket and get easy buckets. And he can't do it. It's not that he can't. It's that he doesn't. He doesn't. It's like he shies away from contact. And that's what happens with nights like last night. Over 6 crunch time paired with Kawhi, and we'll get to Kawhi. But pair with Kawhi because you're not getting the easy ones. You don't get the easy baskets. You don't draw the fouls. Free throws help you get in rhythm as a basketball player. You need to see the ball go in the basket, get to the line. Everyone knows this, and he doesn't do that. So that's really his main weakness. And he's a big reason why I think he ran to the bag when he had the chance, because I don't know that it's all there right now with him. And he understands that that value is going to start to trickle. He's going to start to lose value here as this continues, as the poor play continues. But with Kawhi, I said this earlier on one of the pods too, and I don't know that it got a lot of public, it was public or publicized on our page. I don't know how people feel about this, but I've always felt like Kawhi is overrated. Always felt that way. Kawhi got drafted into the perfect situation for him in San Antonio. Played for the greatest coach of all time. Played with arguably the second greatest power forward of all time, or the greatest, if depending on how you like it, right? And he played with some great players, Ginobili, and he went to a great ecosystem, and he never had to carry that load on his own. And people talk about him going to Toronto, but Toronto was good before he got there. They already had a great ecosystem in place. They had great up-and-coming young talent. He got to add to that. And he in the finals, right? He goes there. And also, before the finals, he plays Philly and he plays the Bucks. 2 incredibly flawed teams. 2 teams that have perimeter players that cannot shoot, right? And you have a great defensive coach, Nick Nurse, who knows what he's doing. And Pascal Siakam can give guys a hard time because he's long and he's a rangy guy. So yeah, he plays 2 flawed teams. He beats them. Great. Goes to the finals. Then the Warriors go decimated with injuries, right? Decimated with injuries throughout the series. If Klay Thompson doesn't get hurt when he does in that series, late in the series, they might have even still won the series. Kawhi has gotten a lot of praise and he's very good, but I don't know that he necessarily belongs in the top 3 conversation in the NBA. I don't know that he does, for real. I mean, he was drawing Jordan comparisons in that run. I don't know if people remember this, but it wasn't that long ago where he was talking about him and Jordan. I'm not saying he was better than Jordan, but just comparing them to him, saying their games are similar and all that. That's high praise. So there's that piece of it. But I just think Kawhi is overrated. I don't think he's ever had to carry this much of a load. And that's why I don't think he signed that long-term deal this past summer, because he realizes that, hey, this isn't the perfect ecosystem. This isn't the Raptors. This isn't the Spurs. I actually have to be like elite every night, every single night for us to win games. And to win big and to get to where we need to go to get to the championship. I have to be a player that I've never been asked to really be. Like, I've never had to do this, because Kawhi's a great scorer, but he doesn't set the table for everybody the same way. He doesn't get everybody else easy looks. In fact, no one on the team can do that. And that's what superstars do. They can also, not only are they elite scorers, they set the table and get easy baskets for everybody else. And Kawhi doesn't do that. And now there's Paul George, and Paul George don't go to the basket. So you want to see what's wrong with the Clippers? I just summed it up for y'all in a couple words. That's my take on that.
Yeah, the Clippers, looking at it as a team, they only had 7 free throw attempts. They shot 31% from the three, 44 attempts, 14 for 44. Looking at the bench, Morris Sr., Reggie Jackson, Lou Will, Zubac. I don't think that's enough in the West with how deep these teams are. Shoot, some Brooklyn, let's say by a miracle, the Clippers make the finals. I don't think they have enough to go against a Brooklyn squad that is deeper than deep. So, I mean, I think people, was trying to be hopeful and hoping the Clippers would figure it out. And, we added Ty Lue as the head coach. Right. Looking at how their roster is, they're a good team. They're not a championship team. I don't see them winning a chip. I don't even see them getting into the Western Conference Final. Paul George and Kawhi isn't enough. Them two, as much as people want it to be enough, those two isn't enough. And as Greg said, Batum can't play 30 minutes, bro. It can't.
A player that playing that long against good teams. I mean, just watching the Nets play them, I was just watching Kyrie ISO over and over, and they weren't making adjustments. They didn't try to switch it. They just let it happen. Like, Ty Lue, that's horrible, Ty. That's horrible. I know he doesn't have a better defender on the bench, and I don't want to kill Ty Lue too much, because honestly, in the reality of it, their problem wasn't the coach. Firing Doc Rivers was counterproductive. It didn't do anything. If you fired Doc Rivers just because Paul George cheated on his daughter and it was too awkward for him to handle, that's really what it was. That's the reality of it. That's all it is, bro. And then Paul George kicks him on the way out. So it's a lot of that was behind the scenes there. But as far as the X's and O's, Doc Rivers is a great coach. He really is. He's getting the most of that Philly team right now. He is. And they got a ceiling. That team has a ceiling. The Sixers do. And he's getting the most out of them right now. They're the best they've ever been in the last, as far as I can remember. So there's that piece of it too. But, man, you look at it, that Clippers team don't have nobody that can set the table. There's no one that gets anyone easy baskets, including Paul George. Everything Paul George is difficult. He's a high-level shots, bro. It's fadeaways. Kyrie's 6 feet. He's getting easier baskets than him. Make it make sense. Make it make sense. It's that's why this team is really ultimately not that good. Like, they have a ceiling too. They're gonna get knocked out by a team they shouldn't get knocked out by in the playoffs. Denver. The Warriors would knock them out in a series. I think the Warriors would knock them out. The Warriors will give them a hard time in the series. They keep them 7 games, possibly knock them out.
You mentioned Doc Rivers before we transition. Something we got to watch with Doc too, though. Doc hasn't won a chip since those Celtics days, and he, outside of even the Clipper situation, Paul George, but we've seen in past that, Phil Jackson even said it, between one of their finals matches, he does not make adjustments. So Doc doing a good job with Philly, but let's see if he's able to, at some point, maybe not this year, the year after that, is able to get back to the promised land himself. Transitioning, flag on the play, accept or decline. Jeremy Lin was called coronavirus by a player and has come out and said that he would not tell on that player. Accept or decline.
Accept. So I respect his decision not to tell on that player. That just shows to who he is as a man. And hey, I'm gonna deal with it at the end of the day. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and throw that person's name out there. You know what I'm saying? If they want to come forward, they can come forward and say, hey, I called him this. I apologize. But the reason I accepted this is because of the fact that, like, it's got to stop, man. This is nonsense. Like Jeremy Lin is a good player. He's balling in the G League right now over 6 games. But and we'll get to that when we talk about G League players that need to get called up. But yeah, man, it's disrespectful. First of all, you see the hate that's going on with Asian Americans right now here in New York City. It's happening daily as of the past few weeks and whatnot, and attacks on them. And whether this is a verbal attack or physical attack, like it's still an attack and it's unnecessary.
Completely agree. He's better than me. I'm saying his name.
You're airing him out.
I'm airing him out. That check getting cut. You ain't getting no more checks, bro.
Yeah.
Yo, his reasoning for not airing him out was what I found the most interesting too. It was like, hey, like, what does this solve? How does this help end this issue if I just air him out? That's just one guy, right? He's clearly not the only person who feels this way, and he's not wrong in saying that. But I think there should be some consequences to pay for saying something that reckless in the basketball court. And there's a line you don't cross. And I think there should be consequences. I also just think if it boils down to, you don't want to be the kid that's told. It's that tattletale mentality. You don't want to get there, but this is so much bigger than that. And I would not blame him if he aired that dude out for what he said, because it's unnecessary. And more than unnecessary, it's just straight up. There's no place for it. There's no place for it anywhere. So that guy shouldn't get away with it and sleep comfortably at night. He probably hasn't slept much for these last couple of nights, knowing that Jeremy Lin just sitting on this information. Like, he put his name out there. You might be out of here. You might be done. You're a low expense.
Not only that, too.
Be done.
Yeah, not only that, but like this is like the era, right? The time where the league's trying to make that shift and players are trying to make that shift and use their voices to come together and Black Lives Matter movement and just create change, within their space and their organization and use their platform. So for old boy to come out and call Jeremy Lin what he called him is completely disrespectful. And at the same time, like, I see where Jeremy Lin's coming from, because Jeremy Lin probably knows in the back of his head there's an investigation going on, and they're going to get him regardless. I'm not going to sit up here and tell them. I'm going to make them, do their investigation. He's going to get caught regardless, I think. But Jeremy Lin doesn't just want it coming from him. Again, it's that tattletale mentality.
Yeah.
MLK said it best: injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere, and that's Black lives, Asian American, all lives. So as y'all said, there's no place for this. There's no place for this either. Flag on the play, second one. Burglar, a home invasion individual, was caught thanks to Cheetos. Accept or decline?
I need more information on this.
Greg always needs more information on some nonsense.
Bro. You be throwing out these crazy headlines, bro.
Sharon Carr in Tulsa, Oklahoma was caught a part of a home invasion. They were able to put her to the scene of the crime because there was Cheetos and water left at the window where she broke in. They caught the Cheetos dust still stuck on her teeth and was arrested from that.
Cheetos need to endorse her when she get out.
Right. They probably will too. They got some pretty tasteless commercials. They would. Imagine getting caught in a crime because you ain't brush your teeth. Like, what?
That's crazy.
I'm sure they'll recreate this whole scene in a commercial.
Oh,
they got you. That's their next Super Bowl commercial right there.
It's golden. It writes itself. It's done.
Yeah.
It's done.
She broke in. The person at the house ID'd her.
Oh.
And they found Next one. I had to throw that one out there. I read that and I was like, there's no way. You broke in. You seem to have got away. They catch you. They can't really prove it until they find out that you have Cheetos dust still on your teeth.
Oh,
you can't. And I'm surprised this wasn't in Florida. This was in Oklahoma.
Yeah, that's a Florida story for real.
Last one, accept or decline. Shaq believes James Harden, Kyrie Irving, Steph Curry, Devin Booker, and Kevin Durant are 5 players that could possibly surpass Kobe Bryant's 81-point performance. Accept or decline.
I agree with that. Wait, the list is James Harden, Kyrie Irving, KD,
Devin Booker,
D-Book, yeah, for sure,
and Stephen Curry.
Yeah, I think it's all facts.
That's solid. I mean, those are all high scorers on a regular night. We've seen them all put up 50-point games. What's another 30, right? You have one good quarter. That's all it takes.
Yeah, I could see that happening. That might happen this year. Like I've been waiting for someone to pass that, honestly. Like in our lifetime. I mean, what Kobe did was incredible because Kobe took a ton of free throws in that game. But a guy like James theoretically could do that on any given night. Like James gets to the line a ton when he's trying to score because of the way he's playing with the Nets now. It may not happen because he's trying to set the table for everybody else, make everybody else's life easy. But Kyrie could do it. I definitely think Kyrie could do it. And KD.
We know what he could do. Yeah, we know what KD
could do. And Steph can too, because Steph, that's just one great night shooting threes. That's just one epic night shooting. He can do that. He really can. If he plays a horrible basketball team is gonna let him shoot all night, he can do that. So yeah,
bro. Clay, when he, what was it, 3 years ago, 2017, 60 points in 3 quarters. Like you give that man another quarter.
He also dribbled 11 times.
Yeah, facts, catch and shoot.
Yeah, that's insane. That's insane. The value of Draymond Green, by the way, most teams in the league can't do that on. But because he has the luxury of having Draymond Green on the team, hey man, guess what? You get to take 11 dribbles and get 60 points.
Stand right there in that corner.
That's it. I'll get it to you. He's the point guard.
I think these names listed outside of this season, we'll see, where these players end up at. Kyrie, KD, Harden, they're all on the same team. I can't see it happening, at least this season, just because how their team is constructed. Harden is really just setting the table for everybody. He picks his spots when to score. Kyrie has still been that killer, but he's going to give you 25 to 30, and KD still got to get his points. So this year, maybe not, with KD being out, maybe before this All-Star break, before he comes back, you might see them go off. But with all 3 of them on the squad, I can see them all getting 40 one night or something crazy like that, but I don't see how their team is currently constructed, that 81. D-Book with CP3 there, he's still figuring out that chemistry aspect and winning basketball, 81.
D-Book could have had 60 last night. He had 40. I think he had 43 through the third. I saw some crazy number like that. He can score at will. I mean, it's because he's with CP that's a little different. Now, you're right. It's just hard to those old bad Suns teams, he can get 80. He got you 70.
These names definitely are scores of people that could do it. I think it just depends on their team's situation. But at any given night, they can get hot. Steph, I think if we're talking specifically this season, is the one player that can definitely get it off this season because Oubre might not show up. Wiggins might still be back in Minnesota.
Draymond might be suspended.
Draymond might be suspended. And Wiseman is still figuring out rookie duties and whatnot. I could see Steph this season possibly being able to get it. We mentioned the G League call-ups. We've been talking, me and Greg, we've talked to Dion, Coach Mingo. He has given very interesting takes on how he does not believe Briscoe and Myles Powell should be called up. He doesn't think they're NBA players. It's been a lot of back and forth on who should be called up. Greg, I want you to go first because I know you watch the G League very closely from the G League at night, looking at those players that will be coming into the draft and, of course, the local team. So who do you see as good candidates to be called up?
There are a lot of guys, and it's already been happening. It's already been happening with a lot of guys who've been called up. But if I'm getting, just giving you a couple guys, Myles Powell is definitely one of them that deserves. And calling him up I'm using that term lightly because I guess he was an undrafted free agent, but he deserves to be in the NBA. He deserves to be in the league. So I'm going Myles Powell. I'm gonna show some love to a guy who I didn't think would impress me this much, but Luke King has done an amazing job with that Westchester Knicks team too. He's shooting 50% from 3, and he's 6'8". Yeah, he belongs in the NBA. You can find that guy a job on an NBA roster shooting 50% from 3. So Luke King is another guy that really stood out to me too. And I don't know that Nico Mannion can play in the NBA, but he's just been really, really, really impressive. Nico Mannion playing alongside Jeremy Lin, another guy who should be in the NBA and should have a backup point guard job in the NBA here at some point real soon. I think he'll get called up when the rosters expand heading towards the playoffs. But Nico Mannion's been impressive. Jeremy Lin as well. I've also kept my eye on. Obviously, you got the Ignite guys have been really, really, really impressive. Dude, even Jared Jack has looked good in points. I don't know that he's, you know what I'm saying? Like, even he's out here hooping, and he's an oldie. You know, a lot of these young guys don't know Jared Jack, but he's a former net. I remember those days. But he can play, man. He can get out there. He can still hoop, for real. So he deserves credit there too. But if I'm looking at that Ignite team, that's where I really get excited because Jalen Green's hit his stride. And really what's happening is you got two guys, Kuminga and Jalen Green, on the same team, vying for basically that 2 and 3 spot in the draft, right? Or maybe the 3rd spot in the draft, depending on how you look at it. Like, they're both competing with each other on a nightly basis, and Jalen Green's hitting jump shots at a crazy clip right now. He's showing you the whole package, and he's such a good scorer. The only concern I have with Jalen Green is, are you going to make your teammates better? That's it. Like, that's it. Or are you going to come in the league and be a great scorer and be more the Jason Tatum type? You can't be your team's number one option because you don't make everybody's life look. So we'll see what happens, or just like their superstar player you build around. But he's so talented. I'm super excited about all these guys coming out. Kuminga's really good too. But I have the same question for him that I have for Jalen Green. You make guys' lives easier. You know, like, I don't see that. That's why I think that I know I'm transitioning here a little bit, but if we think about the draft, and I know there's going to be a lot of arguments about who should go number 1, I think it's a clear-cut number 1. I think it's Cade Cunningham. Cade Cunningham's could get you 40, but he can also get you 15 assists on any given night. He's got that mold. So he's my guy, like, on that regard. But, yeah, as far as, like, guys in the G League that are killing right now, I'm definitely leaving out some names of guys that have really, really played well. As well. I mean, Isaiah Briscoe's played really, really well. Isaiah Briscoe could be in the league for sure. I think the only thing about Isaiah Briscoe and the only issue he may have is his shooting. Like, I don't know how much it's better than it was when he first got into the league and when he played when he had a short stints. But is it sustainable? Can he shoot at a high enough clip in the NBA to be respectable? I know he can score in the NBA. There's no question about that. But like every single person who's ever come on here has ever told us, who's played at a high level, it's about doing a job. That's it. Because the reality is TJ McConnell's not better than Isaiah Briscoe at basketball. He's not. But he does a good job of playing his role, and he doesn't make any mistakes, and that's what the team asked of him. So can Isaiah Briscoe come in and take a role like that and maybe do a little bit more in that role and star in that kind of role? Because that's what it's going to be. That's what it's going to be. He's never going to be your starting point guard. I mean, it could happen, but it looks highly unlikely at this point, right? Unless there's a lot of injuries. So that's his thing. But I definitely think he has a spot in the NBA as long as he can embrace a role, like a lot of these guys.
Yeah, you mentioned Jeremy Lin and Nico Mannion. You gotta mention them. Santa Cruz Warriors on an 8-game winning streak, the most in the G League right now. They're number 2 overall at 9-3. CJ, you mentioned Jay Lin earlier. Is Jay Lin first on your list that needs to get called up? Are we getting Lin Sanity Part 2?
I don't think he's one of the first names that need to get called up, but I definitely think that, you know, he's shown that, you know, he's still got it. You know, he's averaging 20 points right now. He's played 6 games. I know it's a small sample size, but he's shooting 45% from 3. And we've already seen what he's done in the league before he left and played in China and whatnot, and now he's back in the G League. But I think he could definitely come in and help a second team out defensively and offensively as well, especially if he keeps up this high shooting percentage from downtown. He can definitely be an asset to some team. But Greg, we've been high on Myles Powell for a minute now. You know, both of us when he went undrafted, you know, kind of shocking, right? But at the same time, like we knew like certain players don't belong in the G League. Like you weren't worried, I wasn't worried when he was going to the G League. You knew he was going to come in and he was going to produce right away, and that's what he's done. 12 games, averaging 17 points, 44% from 3. So
that's the number right there.
Exactly, yeah. 44% from 3. He's picking up where he left off at Seton Hall, like showing he's a dog, he's a killer. Like, and the thing about him too, he's one of those players that makes other people better around him, because when he gets to the lane, he's someone that can kick it out or he can take it himself. Talk about a guy like Paul George when he gets to the lane, he doesn't draw the foul and whatnot. Myles Powell, he's not afraid of contact. He'll get up in there. He'll be aggressive. He can face you up and he can do it all, man.
Yeah, he ISOs you too. He's got the whole package.
Exactly. He's a strong player, man. So I had Jeremy Lin, I had Myles Powell, I had Nick Mannion. He's also doing well. When he was before he got sent down to the G League, he only played a few games with the Warriors and he was only averaging like 1.5 points or whatever. But at the same time, like now he's killing too. Like he's shooting 36% from three. And I don't watch them consistently like Greg, because I know Greg's high on the G League too, and he's a big advocate for those players. But at the same time, like Nick's one of those guys where you see his highlights all over the internet. You see him on House of Highlights and whatnot, and just what he does, just because he's that like skilled of a player, and he plays with that type of swag that's known in the league now, like his handles and just the way that the flashiness to his game, right? That's huge for highlights and for things like Instagram and whatnot. And he's a player that stands out not only because of his red hair and whatnot, but at the same time, like just the swag that he brings to the game and how he can impact the game in more ways than one. So he's averaging 19 points, damn near 7 assists, and again shooting above 35% from three. So rightfully so. He was definitely someone that deserved to get called up. Jordan Poole got called up as well, recalled up. He was averaging 22 points. So happy for those guys, man. And I know Steve Kerr had a lot of kind words to say about Jordan Poole and just his work ethic from last year, right? He said he had one of the best off seasons out of all the players, that he's come to know in the league, and just the work that he's put in with their coaches and whatnot. So I hope these guys make the most of their opportunity and really just show that they belong and can be a valuable part of that second team.
Yeah, you gotta. I mean, we're going to have to, keep saying it, but Myles Powell, I put him in there. One of the biggest concerns was his shooting at Seton Hall. 37% from three, I believe it was, and like 39% from the field overall. He's 40% on all fronts, and he's shooting around 85% from the free throw line. So you got to throw him in there. But I'm going to give two other names that some might know, some might be paying attention to, some might not know them. Henry Ellenson, Raptors 805. You got to put him up there. 6'10", shooting the rock, 37.5% from three. He can do something along the lines of like a Duncan Robinson, who's shooting around 39% from three. So this guy is shooting 2% lower than Duncan Robinson, who's considered definitely top 10 shooters right now in the league. Right. And then Jordan Bell, Erie Bayhawks, number 1 team, 10-2. Jordan Bell, the biggest thing always was his offense. Looks like he's improved his offense, averaging 17 points. He's still getting the 2 blocks per game. They said he was supposed to be the next Draymond, the next person to fill in when he's with the Warriors. Not really sure what happened with that, but it seems like he's doing his thing. So I think he needs to get a call up, get another shot, and I think he will at some point, and he'll make the most of it. I definitely see shades of Draymond in his game, but it looks like he's getting the offensive package to go with it, which I think will help him stay into the league. Transitioning. Cap or facts? Before we get into our NFL talk, free agency is really right around the corner. Free agency is going to go crazy this year. It's been a crazy year in general. But before we get to that, cap or facts? Kevin Durant should be the only person using the moniker KD instead of Cash Doll. Cap or facts?
Facts, bro. Come on, man. First of all, Cash Doll not even a big enough deal in her space to use KD. She got to give it up. Is Cash Doll a big deal? Am I tripping? Yeah, people rock with Cash Doll?
I think the ladies do. I don't.
I don't even know a lady who does.
I feel like they know her as Cash Doll, though, not KD.
Yo, the tweet was funny, bro. I saw that.
Second one. Steph Curry came out and said teams still get pleasure of beating down the Warriors because of the success they had. Cap or facts?
Facts. Okay, yeah, he had it coming. Oh yeah, they was gonna pay for it. They was gonna pay for all that. People think we forget that Steph Curry like pulled his pants or act like he pulled his pants down on the Cavs logo and act like he was, doing number 2, right? You got to keep it clean.
Yo, I forgot about that.
We didn't forget.
I forgot.
Steph was talking all types of reckless when the Warriors were like on top. Steph was out of pocket, and Steph get the clean Christian boy. He gets all that. He gets all that. The image is perfect. The image is perfect, bro. Nah, we ain't forget Steph. Yet last night the Lakers went out there and they beat the brakes off them, and they lost last time with AD on the floor. That they went to LA and beat them. It's gonna happen a lot more this season, bro. But hey, I love Steph game, and Steph should be a confident guy, and that's what makes him great. But Steph was out here talking all types of cash, and you're gonna pay for it now. They was waiting for this. The league was waiting for this, bro. He's right. Facts.
I think it's more so what you're alluding to is the disrespect. It's not even so much. It was the way they went about winning. Like, you coming back that next year, Christmas Day, you got Steph, you got Ayesha Curry talking like, I can still smell the champagne in the locker room.
Yeah, she was talking crazy too.
Ayesha talking about
cheating. The league is cheating, Steph.
Ayesha talking about, hey, I was pregnant, so I couldn't enjoy the festivities, but go ahead, win another one, babe, so I could drink with you. Like, yeah, I don't think teams are going to forget this for a while. They're going to take great pleasure in it. And it's still happening, though, even with the Warriors are not in obviously contention to win a championship.
No.
But every now and then, Steph is going to do the little shimmy shake. He's going to shoot it from the parking lot and turn around before it's even out of his hands. So I think this is going to be his career period, though. People are going to want his head on a platter.
Oh, yeah.
Bro, it's the same in every sport. You don't think people were excited this past season in the NFL, kicking up on the Patriots and how garbage they were because they had no offensive weapons? You don't think players like long to play them, knowing that like, yo, this is our chance and it's gonna feel good shaking their hands at the end of the game because you're gonna see the disappointment in their face, going up to Bill Belichick and being like, good game, knowing you just spanked them.
I'll say so. Okay, so we have breaking news. What happened, Greg?
Yo, well, there's a crazy finish with the Nets game. DeJounte Murray just hit it was one of the craziest plays I've ever seen. Kyrie made a great move, missed the layup. DeJounte Murray comes down the court, he loses the ball, he gets it back, he shoots it at the buzzer, hits it. It's their tie going to OT right now. So crazy finish. I'm really just more mad Kyrie blew the finish.
DeJounte Murray, by the way, has been balling this season. He's been playing very well. Next capper facts. The Cardinals overpaid for J.J. Watt. Cap or facts?
This is a tough one. I know me and Chris was going back and forth in the chat a little bit about this week. I don't think they overpaid. I don't think they did. And the only reason why is because you've got Kyler Murray on his rookie deal, and you only paid him for 2 years, and you probably can get out of that contract. And you've got Chandler Jones there, and you've got Isaiah Simmons there. You've got a really good defense around him. It is a win-now situation because Kyler Murray's shown you that he has MVP-level talent, and you've got weapons around Kyler, and you're going to probably add more, knowing them. They'll get another receiver because that's just what they do. I think they're in a really good situation. What they really need is a running game. They really want to be good. They need a running game. They throw the ball entirely way too much, and they rely too much on that throw. And I don't know that that's Kingsbury style, but I can tell you that throwing the ball 50 times a game is not going to. You need to have a running game, and they don't really have that. Ken Drake and Chase Edmonds, and they've done a good job, but they don't rely on the running game nearly enough. So it's either you're going to commit more to that piece of it to make yourself a viable team that can win a championship, or you're not. But as far as J.J. Watt, no, because you have Chandler Jones on the other side, one of them has to get doubled. And then you have Isaiah Simmons as well. You can blitz. It's scary. Like, they're going to be a good defensive team, or at least a good pass. You have a really good pass rush. And by the way, this probably means that Hassan Reddick is going to be a free agent. And that is exciting news not just if you're a Giants fan, but if you're a fan of any team that needs a pass rusher, he's gonna hit the market, because that kind of signing, that takes out of Hassan Reddick's pockets, because they just went out and signed a pass rusher. That was your job. So now here we go. So this is exciting. They didn't overpay for him though, just considering what they have in place there. They're going to be a really, really good team, and they've upgraded for the interim. Let's hope that JJ can stay healthy. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah, what was the deal? It was 2 years, 31 mil, but only 23 is guaranteed, right? 23 is guaranteed after 2 years. I agree. I don't think they overpaid for him, but I will say this, and we talked about it a few episodes ago on a few podcasts. He needs to produce this year. No matter what team he signed with, he needs to produce this year, because he's been injured as of the past few seasons. And even when he wasn't injured this year, he played all 16 games and didn't look like the JJ Watt that we were used to seeing. So, yes, he's getting paid the bag, and it's well deserved. But this is he didn't sign there for. Personally, if you wanted to win, there's other places that you could have signed, right? But I think he was worried about his pockets and wanted to make sure he was set. I don't think he really prioritized winning a Super Bowl this year, because if you wanted to win a Super Bowl this year, you're not signing with the Cardinals. You go and sign with another team, possibly the Packers with Aaron Rodgers. You wouldn't sign with the Cardinals. So, I mean, I think that decision kind of shocked a lot of people, and it shows. But at the same time, now that you're doing it, the mindset behind it is, and the expectation for all of us and all the fans of football, or you need to get this team into the playoffs, right? If people value you so high, and they're paying you $31 million, you got to do your part. He can't get injured again and have a season-ending injury. He can't, be below, top 5 in sacks. He's got to have a big year.
I agree.
I don't think, you looking at it, obviously, I don't think winning was a priority. I mean, unless you're okay with 8-8, 9-7.
Yeah.
But hey, secure the bag, do what you got to do what's best for your family. Shoot, I mean, he really could have just wanted to be with his friend D Hopkins. He just reunited, and it feels so good.
You saw that picture a few weeks ago, that hot post. He said, "Hey, let's reunite. Come join me."
It was about the bread and the contacts, and
it had to be about the bread. It had to be about the bread. And the beautiful scenery of Arizona, right?
Arizona, bro. Arizona is very nice. I've heard nothing but good things about Arizona. It's hot, but it's a nice place to live. And so I think that he was definitely factoring that in when he made that decision. There were a lot of places that made a lot more sense. So the Packers made more sense. They probably couldn't pay as much, but they made more sense. The Packers did. So I think that would have been a good decision for him too. Ultimately, look, they're not winning a Super Bowl. They're going to be a fun team to watch. They were already a fun team to watch. It makes them more viable. I don't know that it takes them to another level in this division, because the Niners weren't the Niners last year. The Niners were a watered-down version because of injuries. They had a really bad year because of injuries. So you're still going to go Rams number 1. You still can go Niners number 2 if you'd like. I think Seattle takes a step back, because I don't know, and we can talk about this in another episode, but I don't know that Russell Wilson is going to necessarily be a Seahawk. I'm not sure he's going to be a Seahawk. I'm really not. We'll see. I guess you have to say there's a higher chance he will be than he won't be, because it's the NFL, but you never know, man. You never know.
Speaking of Russell Wilson and him possibly transitioning to free agents, we just talked about JJ Watt. He's obviously off the board now for free agents. Quarterbacks, Jameis, Mitchell Trubisky, Cam Newton, Tyrod Taylor, Fitzpatrick. You got some notable mentions with Jacoby Brissett, Andy Dalton. We believe Dak Prescott is going to get franchise tagged, or in a dream world, he actually gets a deal done with Jerry Jones and them. We on the show do not believe that's happening. Any of these names do anything for you? Do you think any of them go anywhere and actually get a starting job out of the names I just mentioned?
I think Jameis. I think Jameis signs with the Saints, and if Drew Brees is really done and he hangs it up, which I think he should be done, like go out as a legend. And even if he came back and had a bad year, he'd still go as a legend. But hey, everybody remembers that that final game that he played, and he's walking back to the locker room, and he looks back at the stadium, it kind of, told a story there like, hey, this is probably it for me. I mean, the man had broken ribs and a collapsed lung. Like, those are significant injuries, like, that take a while to come back from, mainly the collapsed lung. But at the same time, like, hang it up, go be with your family. You're a Hall of Fame quarterback. Like, you've given the game everything you could possibly give the game, right? So I think Jameis is the right man for the Saints right now, but only time will tell.
I don't think anything's happening with these free agent quarterbacks until these trades all go down. It's a bad year to be a free agent quarterback because you're going to be waiting. You've got to wait. You have no choice but to wait, and because a lot of dominoes to the fall. Deshaun Watson's going to command 4 to 5 first round picks. I think 5, but he's going to go for a lot. And then you also got if Russell goes, he's going for 5. Yeah, he's going for 5 first rounders, or at least three first round picks, and then also great players as well that are mixed in. So you got to think about it that way. Like, it's just going to take time for those dominoes to fall, and those free agents are going to have to wait their turn. It just is, and they're going to get whatever's left after the chaos ensues. So we'll see. We'll see how that all shakes out. I think that Cam could get a look from Washington. I think Washington make a big swing. Washington apparently offered a first and a third for Stafford. The Lions, like, they're going to make a swing at a quarterback because they think that they can win. They think that they have a shot. So they're going to go after a quarterback for real, and so you're going to get a lot of mayhem before these guys actually get deals and actually get whatever their market value is, if they get that at all. We'll see what happens. It's just a tough year to be. I think a lot of these guys go back to their respective teams. Maybe even Cam. I know the Patriots are talking tough right now, but if they miss on a quarterback and don't get Mac Jones, who they apparently love so much, right? They don't get him, then they're probably gonna go back to him. I mean, what's your better option? Or Mariota, maybe? Like, there'll be a little bit of roulette. The guys will move around, but for the most part, the exciting thing's going to happen with the guys that aren't free agents, the guys that are going to get traded, that are demanding trades, because they're going to reshape the entire league, and then these guys will fall into place afterwards.
Transition running backs. You got Aaron Jones, Kenyon Drake, Phillip Lindsay, Leonard Fournette, Chris Carson, James Conner, Mike Davis, Le'Veon Bell, who doesn't seem like himself anymore, or Todd Gurley. Do any of these names get picked up? Do they stay with their respective teams? I know we talked about it in the chat. None of these names do anything for you. What's your takes on these running backs?
Mike Davis was productive last year for the Panthers. I liked him a lot, just watching him run. He ran hard. I can see him. It depends on what the Panthers do and how they're going to allocate their funds. Again, if they take, it all goes back to the quarterbacks. If they take a big swing at Deshaun Watson, they may not bring him back. They may not, and he may be relatively inexpensive, but that should be interesting too. James Conner, the Steelers had no run game, and he's going to pay for it, and it's not all his fault. They didn't commit to the run game, and their offensive line did a bad job in terms of creating holes for him, so he's going to pay for that on the market. It stinks, and I feel bad as well. But a lot of these names again are going to fall into place. Phillip Lindsay had some really good years in the league. He's going to hit the market, which I think is interesting. We'll see what happens. And the interesting name out of all the running backs is Aaron Jones from the Packers. He deserves $10 million a year. We'll see if he gets it. He won't get it from the Packers. Packers are notoriously cheap. He was a 5th round pick. Going back to my point about how they don't use first rounders on anybody outside of maybe the defense and things of that nature. So I don't think he's going to come back there, but he'll be a good guy at any team that's trying to contend can get. And then wants to bolster the running game. He's a very good running back. And he catches the ball. He can play at all levels. So I like him too. But there's some guys there that can end up on teams that'll make a difference. I think Mike Davis is a guy, sleeper picks that no one's going to talk about. He ends up in the right situation. He could really be a difference maker.
Yeah, I think Aaron Jones may have played his last game with Green Bay just due to the fact that their center needs to get paid too, and he's been with the team for 7 years. And would you rather break up that connection that Aaron Jones has with the center, or Aaron Rodgers has with the center, or pay Aaron Jones? Word is that they can't pay them both, and one of them's got to go. So it's going to be interesting to see who moves around. But Other than that, man, Leonard Fournette is somebody I'm thinking about. I think he runs it back with Tampa Bay. If he's smart, I don't think he's been the number one guy, right? And history shows he's gotten injured a lot. He was asked to do a lot when he was with the Jaguars. They were a young team. He was running the ball or they tried to make him run the ball like he was still at LSU, right? And he had a great offensive lineman at every position. I think he played his role really well last year, with Ronald Jones, and I think if he's smart, he'll run it back and get try to get another championship.
Speaking of the offensive line, just going to that one, are there any teams that we know a bunch of teams that need protection? Any of these offensive linemen that are free agents like Trent Williams, Taylor Moton, Brandon Scherf, Joe Thurney, do any of these you think actually move to different teams and are able to help out teams like the Giants or the Jets who want to shore up that offensive line?
I don't think so. As a Giants fan, a guy like Moton, he'd be a really nice addition to any offensive line. He played really well last year. I think the Panthers will make sure he gets re-signed and they do their job there. And then Joe Thuney is interesting. Young guy I think he's with the Pats right now. I see him going back. These offensive linemen are premium. They're at a premium now. It's hard to get a bunch of young guys and get them to gel. So you have to be a rebuilding team like the Giants to be able to get a bunch of young guys and not be worried about that. But if you're a team that's trying to contend, you'd love to add any of these guys, right? But it's tough to get them because these guys really hit the market. Trent Williams got traded, and I just think he'll get re-signed because he's solid enough, right, to stay in place. But I don't think any of these guys really hit the market. If any of them do, I expect some decent money to get thrown around to get one.
Yeah, Trent Williams isn't going anywhere. That's the one guy that I was going to talk about. He's not going anywhere. And if he does, the San Francisco 49ers are fools, right? He's going to sign a contract that's going to make him probably the highest paid left tackle in the league. He's just that good. He told people that he's like, hey, I'm not. He told reporters, I'm not leaving. Or he said, I'm not looking to leave. He said San Fran is the leading candidate, right? But he said, I'm just trying to see what my value is, right? So he's testing the waters right now before he probably signs a contract. He's already told the team he wants to resign. The team told him he wants to resign. So, or they want to resign him, but he's not going anywhere. He's going to get a big contract this year.
I think that's safe to say. At this point, you're probably better off trying to draft and build through the draft with your offensive linemen, because we mentioned offensive linemen like this is very rare that they, move around and go to different teams. Tight ends, because we're going to save the most dense wide receiver free agent class for the last one we'll talk about, because there's so many names, so many different ways we go with that conversation. Tight ends, you got Hunter Henry, Juju Smith, you got Rob Gronkowski, Jared Cook, Gerald Everett. Any of these names get moved, any of these names could actually make an impact on a team. Like, is Rob Gronkowski, is he done? Does he run it back with the Bucs? Like, what's your thoughts on these tight ends that are free agents?
Man, I was watching an interview with Michael Strahan and Robbie G when Rob was in Disney right after the Super Bowl. Rob said he feels good, and he said if he did come back, he didn't see any reason not to come back with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and everything that they just did. He said it'd be silly to even think about going somewhere else. So and he said all signs indicate that he is coming back. So I think he'll run it back one more time with Tom Brady, and I think they'll walk out together when it's all said and done.
Tight ends historically move around a lot. Tight ends usually hit the market and they usually get paid. They don't get paid big money unless you're like, and the guys who are great do get paid good money, but they don't leave. But guys like Jared Cook and these guys that are and Everett and guys like that, these guys will move around every couple of years and have a good year here and there if they were the right quarterback in the right system. So a lot of these guys can go help teams, but I expect to see a lot of movement with the tight end market because there's not a great tight end on the market. Like, I mean, Gronkowski is still very good. I don't think he's great. He's aged, but he'll if he's going to resign, he's going to go back to the Bucs. So he's probably the best tight end out there on that market. unless I missed the name, right? I don't think I did. So yeah, that market is that those guys are gonna move around a ton, and they'll in the right situation, a guy like Jared Cook can help a team. He definitely can. He's solid. And guys like
Wide receivers. Y'all talk to me. Tell me what y'all thinking about the wide receivers. I'm not even going to list these names. We got 15 deep. Everybody from Will Fuller to Chris Godwin to Corvette, Juju Smith Schuster. Like, it's a lot of names on here.
Yo,
who
Greg,
y'all like?
Start it off, Greg, with your boy Allen Robinson. Let's talk about him.
I don't see how he moves. I don't think he moves. I don't think Allen Robinson or Kenny Golladay move. Kenny Golladay is elite. He's elite. He doesn't get a lot of attention because he plays in Detroit. He plays in the middle of nowhere, but he is so good, and he's so good at contested catches. I think he was the best receiver in football at contested catches last year. And Allen Robinson's obviously a stud. And if he could move, I mean, I would love for Allen Robinson to move for obvious reasons. Look, as a Giants fan, the Giants need a receiver. So I'm really excited about this list. But, yo, even when you get down to, like, the concession prizes and the guys that aren't the top of the top, yo, one way or another, the Lions losing a damn good receiver. They're going to lose either Kenny Golladay, they're going to lose Marvin Jones Jr. Marvin Jones Jr. can play. He can play.
Come back to the Bengals. We will accept you with open arms. Come back.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, he was originally with the Bengals, and he's very, very, very talented. And I know the Pats were looking at him. Juju Smith-Schuster, we'll see what happens there. That's really interesting because of the issues he's had over the last year with the Corvette, and Steelers having all them issues with his maturity level. But I think he ends up back. I think he ends up back with the Steelers, man. I think he does. Chris Godwin, I think he's gonna end up back with the Bucs. I don't think he leaves Tom Brady. I think he takes less money, which to me, I mean, you want to go try to win a Super Bowl, keep this thing sustainable. He'll try again, even though if he hits the market, he'll be a guy who really commands a lot of money too. But man, the top options here are Allen Robinson and Kenny Golladay. If one of those guys hits the market, it is going to be a mad dash between all the teams in the league to get the receivers, to get those receivers. And then a guy like Fuller, right, who's gonna hit the market. Fuller had the suspension because of PEDs. I don't think that really affects his market too much. He's gonna miss the first game of next year. That's it. He is a speed demon. He's fast. He can take the top off of your defense. He has good hands. He's a solid player, and he played with a great quarterback nonetheless. But a lot of teams need that. My team needs that. My team needs that over the top element. So yeah, like he would be a great addition to any team. Like there are so many great receivers to choose from, and a lot of this is going to be dependent on where these quarterbacks end up going. The quarterbacks control the cards because a lot of these guys. I know Allen Robinson once said he wants to play with Deshaun Watson. Duh, who doesn't, right? So that might affect the way the Bears talk to him or talk about negotiate with him and see if they want to tag him and things like that. But I'm excited about this market because I know that whatever team needs a wide receiver, aka the Giants, they'll get one. They're gonna get one, and it's gonna be a really good receiver at that. So I'm excited about this as well.
Lord knows y'all need it, but nah, for real though. I had a lot of the same takes as you. Like I don't see a lot of these wide receivers moving, but at the same time, like I personally think that the Bears are gonna tag Allen Robinson and try to see what his trade value market is, right? So the thing that's so impressive about him is like, bro, we talked about it. Like he just as a wide receiver playing with two different quarterbacks, like he didn't have the perfect system. He didn't have one quarterback thrown to him all year. He had Trubisky at times, and then he had Foles at times, and he still produced. Like he had 102 yards, only 6 touchdowns. But again, that's because you're playing with Trubisky and you're playing with Nick Foles, even though Nick Foles is a Super Bowl winning quarterback. But at the same time, it's not the same. And he had over 1,200 yards this season. So again, the team can still tag him, which we expect that they're going to. They're not just gonna, not get anything for him. And they'll probably end up trading him if the market's hot and teams are offering a lot for him. But Kenny Golladay, again, I see Marvin Jones moving. I think the Lions would keep Golladay just due to the fact that he wins one-on-one matchups. Marvin Jones is older in his career, right? He's not gonna win you a one-on-one. I mean, at times he will, but it's not at a high percentage like Kenny Golladay. You throw it downfield, Kenny Golladay more times than not is coming down with that. And then Godwin, like with Chris Godwin, he's gonna run it back. Like he has to. You just won a Super Bowl. Like why wouldn't you? Like, don't. There's a time and a place to go be the number one receiver somewhere else. I know, you got Mike Evans over there, and your touches were reduced. Like, just to put it into perspective, so the our listeners know like how much Godwin's role was reduced from when he was playing with Jameis, and then when he was playing with Brady this past year. In 2019, he had in 2019 with Jameis, he had 121 targets, something like that, 86 receptions, and then I want to say 1,300 yards, a little over 1,300 yards, and 9 touchdowns. In 2020, when Brady came, we all know Brady had a bunch of weapons, right? He had Scotty Miller, he had Gronk, he had Antonio Brown, he had, what's his name? I just mentioned him, Mike Evans. He had a bunch of wide receivers, right? So understandably, Godwin's touches were going to go down, and his touches went down kind of significantly. He went from seeing 121 targets to 84 targets, but he still had 65 receptions and just shy of 1,000 yards, coming in at 840 yards and 7 touchdowns. But the sacrifice you make with that is you win a Super Bowl. He won a Super Bowl with Brady. So, like, why would you leave, go be a star wide receiver on, a team that, maybe gets to the playoffs, but doesn't take it to that Super Bowl level. And we all know Bruce Arians isn't going to let him walk, right? Why would you give away one of Brady's favorite targets? So he's going to, my guess is he's going to get franchise tagged. I don't think he's going to hit the market. But other than that, man, Juju Smith, I know you mentioned him. For Juju, he's going to run it back with, I can see Mike Tomlin bringing him back. He was productive his first 3 years last year. Obviously, Claypool was the star, the emerging star in that team. But I think Juju just needs to mature. But he's not a bad wide receiver, and he's going to produce for the Steelers.
Two names stuck out more, by the way. Two names I thought of when we were talking about this. We didn't have it on our list. Corey Davis from the Titans, Curtis Samuel from the Panthers. Two guys that I think are definitely going to be on the move this year, and are really good wide receivers that can help a team, like the Giants. Two guys I am excited about hitting the market too. It's going to be great. Any team that need a wide receiver, there's no excuse you can go get one, because these teams are their value. Those receivers' values are down because you can get a lot of these great wide receivers in the draft now, and you don't have to pay them as much. And that's what
Jamar Chase, Devontae Smith, Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts ain't gonna come into the league as a tight end. Hopefully, the Bengals scoop him up and we use him. And man, we got
pick Kyle Pitts. That is why the Bengals are not good. If they pick Kyle Pitts, that is why they're not good, because you do all the wrong stuff. You're gonna get killed.
No.
You're gonna get him killed.
Listen. We can get a lineman, and we can either get a lineman or we can get one of a really good weapon for Joe Burrow with Jamar Chase, who he's already played with at LSU, and Kyle Pitts, who you can create mismatch situations with. Bro, you can line him up against linebackers, and he'll blow by them and create mismatches. Man,
Kyle Pitts is falling because teams are gonna pick. They're gonna pick in the trenches that early. You're gonna get guys that can help you win long term, like a Penei Sewell. Like that'd make a lot more sense for them.
I'm all.
Like you're not taking Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts is falling. Now, is Kyle Pitts falling to the Giants? I'm not stupid enough to think that. If he does, but the Giants are gonna get one of these great receivers. Listen, the Giants can get Jalen Waddle. Devontae Smith might fall because Kyle Pitts is rising. Jamar Chase isn't gonna fall that far. I know that. But the Giants are gonna get a really good receiver.
What do you got? 11 or 17?
11. You know what? Let's say all of them are gone. Jamar Chase, Jalen Waddle, Kyle Pitts. Let's say they're all gone. Let's say all those guys are gone. I don't know if I got anybody else, any of these great receivers. If the Giants are at 11, the guy I'm rooting for is Rashad Bateman. Go watch his tape. Rashad Bateman is insane. He's so good. He's exactly what the Giants need. Giants need someone that can get open, create separation, and get open. Give Daniels a reliable target, and he's good with yak. He's not the fastest guy in the world, but he is good. He's good up to catch, man. Yo, listen, he's like a Devontae Adams. That's my comparison for him. Devontae Adams is this. I think these guys are one and the same. Cupped in the same cloth.
Yo, real quick, Antonio. who do we think because obviously we're talking about wide receivers, and we know the one team that needs wide receivers, or maybe two teams, the Jets, they need damn near every position. Greg, who do you kind of think like if one, and I'm not talking about through the draft, I'm talking about if one of these receivers hits the market, right? Whether it's free agency or, they get tagged in a trade. Can you see someone like Allen Robinson going to the Jets?
Only way he goes to the Jets is if the Jets throw an absorbent amount of money at him, or if they get their quarterback situation right. They get Deshaun. That's the only way I see it happening. If he has his choice of where to choose from, he's not picking the Jets unless Deshaun's there. I think he's more likely to play for the Giants than the Jets. And I think if he gets free agent to market, he's probably not going to the Giants either unless the Giants throw a lot of money at him. Like that's what I think. Unless he thinks highly of Daniel Jones on the low, and I don't know it. But I don't think that's the case. I think he's gonna go try to play with a high level QB, a guy who's proven it already. So I don't think he'll end up there. Kenny Galladay if Kenny Galladay hits the market, I think he could be a Giant. I really do.
I think Juju Smith-Schuster would be a better fit for the Jets and somebody more likely to go to the Jets than Allen Robinson, because you talk about Jets and Giants, Sam Darnold, Daniel Jones, are they really, on the favorite list of wide receivers? Like, I want to go play with them. Again, like Greg said, unless behind closed doors, they got fathead posters on their wall of these quarterbacks. I don't think wide receivers of that caliber are going to the Giants or the Jets.
I will say this. Allen Robinson did tweet during the Giants game this year that Slayton is really, really good. So maybe he wants to come play with Slayton. Who knows? Maybe he wants to come join Slayton, his boy, and come play with the Giants. That'd be fun. One way or another, you're going to get really, really good receivers. If you get Curtis Samuel, that's a good receiver, man. That's a really good player in this league. I'm excited about the idea of getting him. Like, I don't need Allen Robinson. I don't need Galladay. I don't think those guys are going to leave their teams. If one of them does leave their teams, and every team will throw the bank at them because Galladay is elite and he's underrated, and Allen Robinson, we know what it is with him already. I'd love to get my hands on him. I think the Jets and Giants are in sweepstakes for sure. No, hey, don't come on now.
Before we close out,
next, bro.
Before we close out, I'm gonna throw out some of these older wide receivers and let me know if y'all think they have a chance to still be productive in this league and if they should hang them up. T.Y. Hilton,
productive.
A.J. Green, Sammy Watkins, Danny Amendola.
Nah, Danny's out.
Bro, the Raiders could use any one of them.
Danny might be done.
If T.Y. Hilton goes to the Raiders and plays alongside Henry Ruggs and Nelson Aguilar, who had he's a free agent too, by the way, and hopefully he resigns because he had a better year in his first year with the Raiders, more productive. He was a career year for him, in yards, catches, the whole nine. But if you put T.Y. Hilton and Nelson Aguilar on opposite sides with Henry Ruggs in the slot, and Darren Waller, too, who's more like a wide receiver and not a tight end, it's going to be a problem. All they need is a good quarterback. You send Deshaun there with all those weapons, we talking Raiders and playoffs. We talking it's going to be crazy, but that's not going to happen. But AJ Green, I don't know, man. I mean, he had not a bad year with the Bengals this past year, but he didn't look the same. He's one of those receivers that you look at and you say, damn, what happened? Like, he lost a step in his acceleration downfield. He couldn't get any separation with any receivers, even jump balls, man. He didn't look himself going for them. He couldn't come down with them. DBs in this league are good, and when you lose a step, they're going to take notice.
Yeah.
Any of those? T.Y. Hilton.
Yeah, that stands out. He's going to be good he's going to be really good for a team. And I don't think the coach let him go, but if the coach let him go, it's because I think Michael Pittman Jr. is true. That's the only reason why they let him go. Because Michael Pittman Jr. is going to be nice. I'm telling you. I'm a fan of his. So I think that if they do let him walk, he's going to go help a team right now. I can see the Pats in on him, which would make a ton of sense for them, but they never really, really rebuild. So I can see them doing that too. We'll see what happens there.
We'll see what happens. That concludes right there us talking about free agency. Our next episode, we will talk about the defensive side. You got the linebackers, you got defensive backs, and of course, every year the most important part on defense that you could go out and get are your pass rushers. It's a lot of teams that need some edge rushers this season. So we'll talk about that next episode. But y'all know the vibes. If you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. Bench Mob, we out. Peace.
Peace.